folks, I'm Joe Snedeker, and welcome to another outstanding edition of Cloud to Ground, our weekly weather show. Now, we asked you, the people, to speak to us, give us some feedback, and it came. So we're going to answer your questions, but we want to start out with Kurt Aaron answering a question from the kiddos. Check it out.
Hi, I'm Chief Meteorologist Kurt Aaron. You know, the weather's getting warmer. It's feeling more like summer. We love being outside this time of the year. But when the temperature goes up, so does the chance for thunderstorms and also tornadoes. We don't see them that often, but we do see them throughout the year. So that leads us to our next question in science class.
My question is, how do tornadoes form?
That's a great question. How do they form? And just how dangerous can they be? For those answers, let's head back to the Severe Weather Center. Come on, let's go. All right, welcome back to the Severe Weather Center. Now, I got this graph behind me, and I wanted to show you this because we were talking about when the weather gets warmer, how we start seeing more and more activity in thunderstorms and tornadoes. And if you look on our chart here, May, June, and July are the busiest months we have for the potential for tornadoes forming. And what is a tornado? A tornado forms when you have a severe thunderstorm. You can't have a tornado unless you have a severe thunderstorm. And when you have a severe thunderstorm that spawns a tornado, tornadoes don't form like my finger here and just come straight down. They actually form horizontally on radar, and I've got some examples of that for you as well. So I thought it would just be easier if I show you with some really cool graphics that we have set up for you, and this is how tornadoes form. Notice the wind speeds at the surface are running slower than the upper level winds. The upper level winds are growing stronger. Now remember, when I was using my fingers to show you, tornadoes form horizontally, not vertically. And they form by rotating column of air that you see there, thanks to those winds being stronger. Now, remember I said you need a thunderstorm with gusty winds. That updraft right here that you're looking at, that causes that rotating column of air to bend and move. And as it does, it'll continue to get stronger and could in fact turn into a tornado. Now, right now, it's still a rotating column of air, but as that wind increases, at the ground, we start to see it as a wall cloud. Here's another example of a wall cloud too. But back to the graphics now. So if you look at that wall cloud, you can see just how dark it is. That's because the anvil, the top of the storm, the thunderstorm is building and getting bigger and taller, and it's casting shadows down on the lower part of the cloud. That's why it appears almost black. This rotating column of air continues to build downwards. And if it doesn't reach the ground, it's called a funnel cloud. But if it does reach the ground, then we have a bona fide tornado. On radar, we pick up this rotation, and the National Weather Service can actually trigger a tornado warning even though a funnel cloud is not on the ground. And we've seen that over and over again. You know, when I first started in television 30 years ago, in order to have a tornado warning, the rule was there had to be someone on the ground seeing a funnel cloud. That has all changed now. We don't have to do that. Now, if they pick up that rotation in the radar, they can trigger a tornado warning if they believe that's what's going to happen. And they also issue tornado watches. So what's the difference? I'll show you. To answer that question, I want to come to the big board because there is a big difference between a watch and a warning. Here's some examples. Typically, when we have tornado watches, that means conditions are favorable for the possibility of a tornado. We have strong thunderstorms, we have gusty winds. Those are all conditions favorable for tornadic activity. A tornado warning means there's actually been a tornado spotted either on radar with that mesorotation, or we've seen a funnel cloud on the ground. So the National Weather Service issues a tornado warning when they're trying to keep people aware, keep them safe. And you have to have a plan when you have a tornado warning. You need to take action immediately, as you can see here. Now, what does that mean, taking action immediately? I've got some more visuals I want to show you. So let's say this is your house. You're home, you're watching TV, say you're watching WNEP. Suddenly, you get a tornado warning signal, meaning a tornado could be near your house. What do? Well, if this is your house, you want to go to the interior part of your house or a basement if you have one. Avoid windows and doors. all outside walls. In other words, you don't want to be here in the kitchen area. You want to be here in the interior of your home if you don't have a basement. If you have a basement, then you want to go into that basement. That's the safest place to be, is your basement. Otherwise, interior room of your home. You want to stay safe. That's the most important thing. It's great to be outside when it's warm, sun shining, but we also have to be weather aware. And be aware that even though we have severe thunderstorms at times, not all severe thunderstorms will turn over tornadoes, but if they do, have a plan and know what to do. I'm Chief Meteorologist Kurt Aaron. Have a great day. Class is over.
All right, thanks so much, Kurt. So now we're going to answer your questions in the lightning round. That's coming up next, so stick around. All right, I better sit down for this one. Now questions from you to me. We're gonna do this in the lightning round. Quick questions, quick answers, hit it, baby. All right, everyone, welcome to the lightning round once again. I got a couple questions this week, as a matter of fact, 3, because a couple of folks have told me, Snedeker, it's called the lightning round. That means it's supposed to be like a game show. Boom, 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 quick questions. Sometimes they'll do a longer demonstration. Other times we'll get through 3 ones quick. So here we go. Brian Cresco says, I have an exclusive question for you, Joe. Why do you use green to represent rain on the radar maps? Well, look what I have pulled up over here. WNEP.com site, and there's the radar showing green and yellow. Yeah, why green? Doesn't make any sense. Rain isn't green, right? Well, I did a little research on this one. I wasn't quite sure myself, but it goes back to, we believe this, the old radar units for the military back, the CRT monitors. Picture the old radar going around. It's that primitive screen and everything shows up, bleep, green. That's probably the origin. But yet, also when you think of nature and when you think of greenery, that's outside living. So green, moisture, rain, and the old CRT days of the radar systems through the military. Feel good about that one? All right, how about this? Do you ever disagree with your fellow meteorologists at WNEP, and do you let them know? We're getting down and dirty now, right? Well, so here's the deal. We all work our own shift. So pretty much computer models and the science, it updates every 3, 4, 5, 6 hours. So I could disagree because I'm looking at new data, but we all look at new data on our shift. But I'll be honest with you, sometimes I'm home, I'm watching meteorologists, and I'll be like, really? You're wrong, you're way off. But I keep it to myself. But we all pretty much look at new data and we do our own thing, and that's how meteorology is. It's pretty fluid science and up for interpretation. All right, and the last one. Are you ready? This is Chris Smith. Joe, my friend told me that humidity comes from the ocean. Is he right? Chris from 40 Fort. Why is there moisture in the atmosphere? It comes from the ocean? Yes, it comes from lakes, rivers, trees, evapotranspiration from plant life. Any water source is going to add moisture to the atmosphere. And yes, a lot of it comes from the ocean. So keep your questions coming. Weather at WNEP.com, and I'll answer them. But I'll also fight with my fellow meteorologists because I'm that kind of guy. Keep them coming. All right, good stuff there. I told you we're getting down and dirty, baby. All right, we have a new segment coming up called When Stars Collide. You got to stay tuned for this. You're going to love it. All right, so as promised, we have a new segment here called When Stars Collide, and Jeremy and Anthony, they're at it. Hit it, boys.
Welcome to our new streaming segment, and we are calling it
When the Stars Align.
And Jeremy, what does When the Stars Align mean?
So there's a bit of a double meaning there, right? If you want to, you could call us both stars of WNEP. But also, that's a phrase, right? When the stars align. And not only are the stars aligning here where we can have the same schedule, but we're both two stars in the same place, talking to you about the latest on weather and sometimes gardening. So Anthony came up with the name. It's a great name. And Anthony and I don't always have the same schedule.
Yeah, and we decided that for the first episode, why not try out some gardening? And I'm a gardening novice. And Jeremy, would you consider yourself an expert or?
I think everybody can learn. You know, everybody has room to learn, even if they've learned for a long time. So I wouldn't consider myself an expert, but I've been gardening for a long time. Since I've been 9 years old, I was a volunteer gardener with a local high school. And in addition to weeding and helping to rake up leaves, I was given a plot of land so my mom and I could garden some fruits and vegetables of our own. So when I was little, we gardened tomatoes and cucumbers and all the herbs, basil, cilantro, lemon thyme, and I know a lot of knowledge thanks to the older people who worked at the Marist High School, the local high school, and they were brothers there in their 70s and 80s, and they had a lot of knowledge to give me. So I'm going to impart that on you.
Yep, all of that knowledge. Now, this is day one of the garden. We're set to plant today, and let's kick it off with some little behind the scenes what we're working with today.
So as a gardener, when I was growing up, I loved spending time outside. It was my therapy. Unfortunately, since I started working here, the garden back at home was demolished. The school actually lost its funding. So I'm able to do gardening here in the WNEP backyard and continue that therapy, this sanctuary of working with my hands in the soil. And it truly is beautiful that I can continue that cycle and do it here at my workplace with you, Anthony. He's behind the camera. And I'm going to show you just some of the things that we've started growing here in the backyard. We're going to plant them very soon. These are sun sugar tomatoes. Now, Anthony, these are my favorite things in the entire backyard garden. I've done them 2 years in a row. This is the third year that we'll have them here at WNEP. They are these yellow tomatoes. They're almost the same size as a cherry tomato. They are so sweet, so juicy. They're my favorite. For every one I harvest, I put one in my mouth. I love it. All right, Anthony. Also over here, we have this entire back row of tomatoes. We're saving a spot for the Amish tomatoes, which were recommended by a viewer because Amish tomatoes are apparently very good for sauce making. So we'll be planting those here. We have Jersey tomatoes. Those are a staple in any garden. We also have the Abe Lincoln tomato. Now, Anthony, you did some research on the Abe Lincoln tomato. Tell us about it.
Well, thanks, Jeremy. I've done a bit of research on Abe Lincoln tomatoes and have a couple fun facts to share. The first one being they're from Illinois. Yeah, they were first bred in Illinois in the early 1900s, and that's why they have the namesake of Abe Lincoln. They're also old-fashioned type tomatoes. They're known to be honest, reliable, and known to wear top hats when they, no, just kidding, they don't do that. But also they're known to grow in clusters. Each one is about 8 to 12 ounces. So these are big guys, and they're known to be meaty, a little more safe. So yeah, those are a couple of fun facts about the Abe Lincoln tomato. Hopefully we get a lot of them this year. Now, Jeremy, you got me excited about these before. The Jamaican yellow.
Because apparently what you end up doing after eating them is yelling. They're they're so spicy.
Well, I think we have to leave that to Joe. Maybe we'll try these out eventually. And I like these. Where's the Italian?
Right
there we go. The Italian roaster. Now, Kurt said that my nickname could be the Italian roaster. Maybe not, but yeah, I'm excited for peppers. Now, Jeremy, with peppers, what type of seasonality? When would you expect that to harvest here?
Late July, early August, you'll start to see them.
And I'm getting the source right from Jeremy. And then the tomatoes, just about the same.
We did get a variety of tomatoes called Early Girl, which actually have a shorter gestation period. So they end up coming out earlier than the rest of the varieties. So these come out in July. So we'll have tomatoes all season long.
That's actually a good idea. That's actually a good idea to think of. I wouldn't even think of that. So maybe for people planting their gardens, if they want something a little earlier.
Yeah, trying varieties that end up outputting their fruits at different times in the season, so that you end up having the same fruit all the way through.
Sweet. And now let's talk about maybe some other things that we have here.
All right, Anthony. What we have here is a pot of beans and shallots.
What's a shallot?
I would consider it like a cross between an onion and a garlic with taste flavor profile, but when it comes to the actual bulb of shallot, it's like an onion, only smaller.
All right. So what else? So we got shallots.
Then, yeah, take a look at these. These are an heirloom bush bean. These are dragon tongue beans. We did these in the backyard last year, and they were a big hit. The dragon tongue beans are the size of the palm of your hand. That's how big they are. And they're these beautiful purple color like a dragon tongue. When you steam them up, they lose the color, but they're really very flavorful. So we got the dragon tongues again. We got purple queen beans.
Purple queen.
Purple queen.
Okay.
Which are these dark purple color. And we also have, I don't know where they are. They might be over in the other pot, but we have yellow beans too.
Maybe I need to incorporate more vegetables, more greens in my diet, and this will definitely help kick up that once they.
Absolutely. Yes, Anthony, you are welcome to anything here in the backyard. That's one great thing about our WNEP backyard garden. Anybody can come out and eat whatever is grown here. It's the fruits of our labor.
Yeah, no, it's definitely very fun. We just got to make sure the critters stay out for the most part.
Yeah.
But
we're going to have to watch out for that porcupine.
oh yeah.
One. So, Anthony, the last thing I wanted to point out here are these herbs. These were a gift to us by the Montrose Garden Club. And the Garden Club of Montrose is actually the oldest incorporated garden club in the state of Pennsylvania. They were established in 1905.
So they know what they're doing.
They certainly know what they're doing, and they have all these beautiful herbs that they took from their own gardens and gave to us, from mint to oregano to marjoram, even purple basil, and we'll be putting them here in these larger window boxes.
And then where are those going to be going?
So they'll be on a bench right here along the fountain. And speaking about the fountain and the waterfall, we have two frogs that I'm very fond of. You already know their names.
Soggy and Sprinkles. Yeah.
That's right, Soggy and Sprinkles. We named them. They've lived here now 3 years in a row, and that's where this tie came from. So the tie came from a viewer. He told Kurt, he knows that Kurt loves wearing funky ties, and Kurt gave it to me because of how much I love the frogs. So I wear it every time we plant the garden, and I'm glad to continue the tradition.
And I want to show you, I guess maybe a tradition. I got this trowel from the Master Gardeners of Columbia County. And Jeremy, you were the one doing most of the work today. I was kind of watching, but...
We're not done, Anthony. We still have some work to go. You can still help out.
the golden trowel that they gave me, so it's being put to use here in the backyard. I just want to give the Master Gardeners Columbia County a shout out.
A little bit of the community here in our own WNEP backyard. So thank you for your gifts to us. We are going to be doing more of these segments in the future.
Yeah, whether it be gardening or games or anything we can imagine us two interacting, because you don't really see much of us interact as we sometimes are on our own shifts and sometimes clock in, clock out, don't interact.
Kind of like passing ships in the night.
Yeah,
but when the stars align, you'll be seeing us.
All right, I told you those guys were crazy. There you go. So, all right, I'm Joe Snedeker. Coming up next on Cloud to Ground is Allie's special segment because wildfire season is not over yet. Stick around. All right, folks, welcome back to Cloud to Ground. Here's the deal. I want you to think back. Remember not too long ago, wildfires, smoke across the country, and right here in northeastern central Pennsylvania, AQI, all that stuff? Well, Allie's going to take us back to a time when we had to worry about that, and the threat still could exist at any time, now and in the future. So, Allie, take it away, girl.
This week marks the third anniversary of wildfire smoke from Canada impacting us here in northeastern and central Pennsylvania. Folks we spoke to that week called it apocalyptic, like a scene out of a horror movie. Let's take a look back at some of those incredible images from those few days in June 2023.
It was our top story here on Newswatch 16 on the evening of Tuesday, June 6th. As the day went on, what would have and should have been a clear blue sky turned hazy. Here looking down from the overlook on Route 307 in Scranton, our crews could really see just how bad conditions were getting.
I've never seen anything like this in person. It's chaos and insanity.
I just think it's absolutely insane. I mean, I've never seen anything like this before. Scranton is just completely covered in this smoke, and it takes away from the beautiful scene here.
A record-setting number of wildfires had been burning that entire spring in Canada, but activity increased in intensity by June. Smoke from wildfires in Quebec started drifting into the Northeast on June 5th, and by the 6th, air quality alerts were being issued in many places in the Northeast, including here in northeastern and central Pennsylvania. It didn't take long for all of you to start capturing the incredible images, sharing them, and helping tell the story.
And it's really covering our entire viewing area, which we're getting to see from photos you have been sharing with us. Every part of the area. Let's take a look around. First, up in Elk Lake, Northern Tier, Susquehanna County. This was this morning. Chrissy's sending us this, that hazy sun, the smoke covering the farm there. Beautiful shot normally if it didn't have smoke all over it.
By Wednesday, June 7th, conditions worsened, and many school districts in the area sent students home early. Here in Scranton, City Hall closed early too, and non-emergency city employees were kept inside for the day.
Everything we do is outside and it's strenuous work, so we didn't want to overtax them. So in the process of doing that, we suspended all of our highways work as well as our flood protection work.
Garbage and recycling pickup was also put on hold for a few days that week here in Scranton.
This is the first time we've seen this, and it was pretty brutal today.
For a time, New York City was registering the worst air quality of any major city in the world. One expert said being exposed for 24 hours was equivalent to smoking 6 cigarettes. MLB games, concerts, and shows in New York, New Jersey, and Philadelphia were canceled on the night of June 7th, including the Phillies game. The Rail Riders canceled 2 games, too.
This is unprecedented for this team. It's not often you see games postponed due to air quality.
Experts recommended people limit their time outdoors, which is why the decision came to postpone the games.
You hear, don't be outdoors exerting energy, which is what minor league baseball is. So there's a lot that goes into play here to make the decisions on how we handled Tuesday, how we handle today.
But not everyone in the area limited their time outside. Here at Stonehenge Golf Course in Tunkhannock, there were cancellations that week, but others chose to play.
You look at it and it's almost unbelievable, but it is real and it is happening and it is something to be cautious about.
Employees warned golfers not to play if they have severe allergies or breathing problems.
In my 50 years as being a golf pro, I've never seen anything like this. You know, I've been through hurricanes and everything else that you could have happen on a golf course, but something like this is it's just so different.
Bill Kneffel said the conditions not only affected his game physically, but mentally too.
Yeah, you smell smoke and, definitely your eyes are burning. It is difficult to pick up the ball. It's, you're like, wow, where did that go? Because as it goes out, it's really, visually very difficult to see because it is that hazy or foggy or whatever you want to call it. Smoky, I guess it would be.
By the next day on June 8th, conditions started to improve. Here at Knoebels, the park near Earlysburg never modified its schedule, but understood why guests changed their plans.
We had some groups that were concerned and worked with us to reschedule their visits, but for the most part, people were still really happy to get out and enjoy time at the park. Team members we addressed on a case-by-case basis, and we certainly understood that there were guests who might have been hesitant to come out and visit us.
Air quality continued to improve within the next few days, and while we did see hazy skies from the Canadian wildfires other times the rest of that summer, it never got anywhere near as bad as that first week of June 2023.
Next week marks the anniversary of the Wilkes-Barre Township tornado. On the night of June 13, 2018, the Arena Hub Plaza took a direct hit from what was later determined to be an EF2 tornado. Next week here on Cloud to Ground, we'll take a look back at some of the damage. Thanks for joining me this week. I'm Allie Gallo.
All right, thanks, Allie. And remember, as this summer approaches, be careful when you're outside with those matches and your outdoor fires. Now, hope you enjoyed this whole segment. We covered everything, and we're going to do it again next week. So please stay tuned. We'll have some fun with the weather team each and every week, and we will see you each and every week.